Good afternoon, and welcome to the Mar Project. Marchua here, and welcome back to another episode of Baby Reviews Books. I think that's the name of the series. I actually had a brain fog. And for today's episode, we are going to be tackling one of the most well-known modern philosophers in centuries. I guess centuries. Of course, we all know Niccolò Machiavelli and his how to guide in becoming a good ruler, at least from the prince. So once again, I got like a Collins Classics edition of this book, as from the previous vlog I posted. So yeah, let's begin. Anyways, human nature is a mix of good and bad, where man becomes selfish, pursuing whatever they want. When it comes to the prince, somebody is going against their selfish nature, and he who becomes a prince is unable to maintain power. So the prince plays and balances, but soon it becomes hard to remain fair. This is where Machiavelli's famous line, "It is better to be feared than loved," comes in. And who would have guessed that this funny-looking Renaissance madman would predict modern politics? I first heard of this guy sometime in my 8th grade social studies class. At least my teacher once spoke of the famous line as we talked about the history of the Roman Empire, then later the Renaissance period. Machiavelli was tackled in my social science class during my freshman year of college, so around like 6 years later, and I was excited to learn about him as if to continue where we had left off back in 2016. The prince, as discussed in the latter class, it was divided into two sections, first about the nature of man and then the nature of power. Social science class tackled a variety of philosophers, political thinkers, and scientists, and even religious figures, all of which had their own views and ideas on how one governs a body, how one must behave, and many of our readings included excerpts from The Prince. I cannot words. And this was also my first time I got to read a full-length copy, at least thanks to Collins Classics, my beloved. According to the order of the readings that we discussed in the class, Machiavelli's work had a solo part that was separated from two previous parts, the Greek philosophers and the saints, and then later political thinkers and sociologists. I think I got the list right. So our man Niccolò was special indeed when he had his own topic outline compared to the rest of the people we met, figuratively, and debated about. Also, I'm actually, as I wrote this post and as I would also read the script for this video, I was going through my old freshman year notes, so it's as a guide. When it comes to the nature of man, we tend to make a ton of horrible decisions, speaking from experiences, with man being deemed selfish as we pursue whatever the hell we want. The embodiment of the prince is actually somebody who goes against their selfish nature, and upon becoming a ruler, they're unable to properly maintain their power. And when it comes to ruling, of course, you'll need to learn how to balance the good and the bad together. Or in Machiavelli's case, the good, the bad, and the ugly? As we all know, human nature is a mix of good and bad, but when things don't always go our way, I guess that's where the ugly parts come in. Speaking from experiences again. Now, in terms of nature of power, would it be safe to say it's better to rule by fear rather than by love and respect? Anything that goes against the prince's desires immediately becomes a threat due to our nature of selfishness, always wanting more or knowing nothing is ever truly enough for us. Contentment is a myth, and speaking from personal experiences again and teenage drama, we tend to want something that others have. The only thing keeping us from getting what we want is the person that has it. Because we had tackled Greek philosophers and saints before him, we also tackled the thinkers in years, centuries, or periods of publication, and Machiavelli's own experiences and influences from religion, specifically from Christianity, was what motivated him to write The Prince, or The Basic Bitch's Guide to Becoming an Ideal Ruler, or how Jerome, hi, if you're watching this, puts it, a love letter to the emperor. Would I say this is fiction? Not really. Or should I say, nah. If anything, this is also the first time I'll be tackling a book that isn't fictional. So of course, the format of this blog post or this video, if you're watching this video form, will be different. Instead of summarizing the important moments per chapter of the book, I'll look more into the themes and sort of highlight of ruling a kingdom by brute force 101, as well as the historical background of Machiavelli's work. So Mr. Mac, or Mac, my nickname for him, was born in Italy, of course, and was also a figure in the Renaissance period. He became involved in the city's political life during a time of political turmoil and shifting power dynamics. He held various diplomatic and military positions in the Florentine Republic, I don't know how to pronounce it, but due to some political drama, Lorenzo de' Medici and his family rose to power and Mac lost his spot and was imprisoned. So while in exile, the prince was in writing as a means to gain Medici's favor or escape from his exile. His work was a practical guide for rulers and a demonstration of Machiavelli's political insights and expertise. I don't know how else to talk about this book other than it's really just a self-taught book on making use of, if not how to acquire political power. Although this may just be a handy-dandy little guidebook, the prince still has a few themes he tackles, or gets its appeal from. From the aforementioned natures of man and power, there's also political realism. Max, the same guy who said the end justifies the means. Many can choose to be believers of this saying, others simply do not. If you ask me, I have mixed feelings about this because there are a few things that can also easily be done to contradict how the saying goes. Like, a not so academic achiever suddenly gets a high score in an exam. Would you say they cheated? Perhaps, like me, they just studied hard for the exam. Unless you're known for easily getting away with things, then it's safe to say and apply that the end does justify the means presented here. To add fire to the flame, Mack argues that rulers must be prepared to act immorally when necessary to maintain that power and stability. And in order to maintain that power, Mack departs from the traditional view that rulers should always act virtuously. Instead, he argues that moral considerations must be secondary to political necessity and that deceit, cruelty, and betrayal can be justified if they serve the ruler's objectives. In other words, it's like, I guess his work is one way of saying, I'm not like other girls, I'm worse. See, I told you he's a madman. In fact, many would also argue that instead of this being a ruler's handbook, it's actually a secret guide on how to become a tyrant. So Mack unfortunately predicted modern politics indeed. Going back to influence, religion definitely played a part in this book. Mack kind of views religion as a tool that can be utilized by rulers to maintain control and order, as he acknowledges that religion can shape morality and social cohesion. That's why, ironically, he uses religion against the previous works, such as the one I had discussed in my freshman year. He expresses skepticism. I'm pretty sure I said it right the first time. Skepticism towards religious leaders and institutions, criticizing their corruption and hypocrisy. He argues that some religious figures may use their influence for personal gain rather than for the common good, and a shrewd ruler must be aware of these dynamics. Because, especially where I'm from, I'm gonna be red tagged for this, you kinda just look for a ruler who fears the gods above. As we had tackled Greek philosophers and the saints before Mack himself, the previous reading I took up was to marry politics and morality together by introducing religion. Mack, on the other hand, does not. Machiavelli also believes that fear is a more reliable motivator than love when it comes to maintaining control and order. He asserts that while being loved is ideal, it is safer for a ruler to be feared if they choose between the two. This is because fear, unlike love, does not depend on the goodwill of others and can be more consistently maintained through the threat of punishment. So, I guess in order to be a well-respected ruler, you kind of gotta be scary, like the mean girls in high school. However, he cautions against ruling through cruelty alone, as it can lead to hatred and potential rebellion. Like I said, a secret guide for tyranny. Mack gives off mixed signals so much it confuses me, and perhaps every other reader, even Machiavellian, I guess like a fan of Mack, the more it intrigues me. I've been wanting to read his full-length work for years. Like, ever since I first heard of him in 8th grade, I was super intrigued and I wanted to learn more about this guy. So when we took him up in my social science class during freshman year of college, of course, I was beyond ecstatic. So to try and make this vlog a bit lengthier, I might as well read some of my favorite passages and quotes from the book. Okay, so I'm probably gonna get cancelled online for this, but in order to remember the passages of the book, aside from taking note of the pages, so it would be easier to look at the pages themselves or look where the pages are. I added like some, I call it dog ear folding. I had to fold the pages a bit just so I'll remember. I am so sorry. I'm damaging the book. But yeah, I really like the beginning of this book, how he literally just went, this is dedicated to Medici and his family. Chapter 1 itself is super short, and it has a lot of really interesting quotes alone. So the several sort of governments and after what manner they are obtained, there never was nor is at this day any government in the world by which one man has rule and dominion over another, but it's either a commonwealth or a monarchy. So it's kind of like democratic, or one person just rules and oversees everything alone. Like the spoiler alert, the grand finale of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. Yeah. Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it. I'm sorry. And then, somewhere here, I'm gonna take note of the pages later. Don't worry about it. And for page 63, I just remember what chapter this is from. I conclude, therefore, that without having proper and peculiar forces of his own, no prince is secure, but depends wholly upon fortune, as having no natural and intrinsic strength to sustain him in adversity. It was always the opinion and position of wise men that nothing is so infirm and unstable as the name of power, not founded upon forces of its own. Those forces are composed of your subjects, your citizens or servants. All the rest are either mercenaries or auxiliaries. And this was tackled, mercenaries and auxiliaries was tackled in, I don't remember what reading it was. It was probably like a Greek philosopher. So he kind of also, I guess, indirectly quotes previous readings that were tackled in my class. I really love the syllabus of like the social science class. And another one from page 81. I love how he just goes, there is a prince at this time in being, but his name I shall conceal. God, dude, you're being fruity. You're being suspicious. We all know who you're simping for and who you wrote this book for. Who has nothing in his mouth but fidelity and peace, and yet had he exercised either the one or the other, they had robbed him before this both of his power and reputation. I guess that's another way of him foreshadowing modern politics. Yeah, bet, for real, no cap. My wig flew from reading his book. And then just for added comedic effect, this isn't really a quote, it's more like just a random joke. My laptop turned off. For added comedic effect, for some reason, I read chapter 23's title as How Flatterers Are to Be Avoided. Instead of flatterers, I said, How Flat Earthers Are to Be Avoided. I mean, Mac probably had a point here, not that my headcanon was that he's a flat earther, but he's a funny looking guy. You'll never know, he was probably a flat earther this whole time. Though there's also like an interesting beginning to the flat earther chapter. I will not pass by a thing of great consequence, being an error against which princes do hardly defend themselves, unless they're very wise and their judgment very good. And that is about... I really cannot say flatterers without thinking of flat earthers. That is about flatterers, of which kind of cattle all histories are full. Okay, I need to stop making fun of this guy. He was a very interesting person. And of course, last but not the least, I might as well quote the last words of the book because they're really good. And I love a good rhyme scheme. Virtue shall arm against rage, and in short fight, prove the Roman valor's not extinguished quite. So I guess it's also his response to I almost dropped it. It was like the response to the fall of the Roman Empire. So yeah. Excuse me while I drink my water. So yeah, that's basically it for the whole of Machiavelli's The Prince. Of course, the format is different. My words are different. I'm not even sure if I was able to summarize the book entirely. I really just spent most of the time just analyzing like the whole theme, because everyone who knows The Prince without even reading The Prince just knows it's like how to become a ruler. And it's also like not that lengthy anyway. It's just 118 pages long. It just looks thick because the Collins Classics, as always, includes like a dictionary of words taken from like various classic literature and the life and times. But otherwise, it's not much of a really big book. Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog episode, and I might be doing 2 more blog posts and episodes before I go on I guess a year-long hiatus. I'll be busy with my thesis after this term or after this month. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this book as much as I did, as always. And subscribing to the channel will definitely continue your support, or by just watching the video, sharing it with your friends, or if you need help with, I guess, homework, philosophy, and social science related stuff, then you're free to check out my blog as reference if you haven't read the book already. And as always, your support will be much appreciated. I already said that. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next vlog and blog post. As always, you can follow along. I can't believe I forgot to introduce the blog. But yeah, as always, the transcript is available on my website at babybluebookworm.wordpress.com. So it's from WordPress. So the official post will also be linked in the video in the description below, so you guys can follow along if you wish to. But otherwise, thank you for supporting the channel and for supporting the blog. And I will see you guys in the next video. This is the Mar Project. This is Mar Chua signing off. Peace. And I'll drink my glass of water for added effect. It's literally just water. I don't know if you can see it. I'm afraid it might get on my phone, but yeah. Also mug flex. Yeah, okay. Bye. Okay, I'm gonna press end now. This is me staring into the abyss, even if it's like daytime. I wanted to film at night so I could have like another bedtime story episode, but I thought filming in the daytime would be better because I'm like dressed nicely because I just came from school and I'm wearing yellow, my favorite color, as you can tell. Alright, bye.